Hello, all you beautiful drywallers out there in drywall land. Welcome to a filthy episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host once again, Nick Harmon. With us today, we have Steve Wessel of Whitby Drywall out of Ajax, Ontario. Steve and I immediately get philosophical, wasting no time, waxing poetic about art and music, and that conversation shifts over to the challenges he faced early on in his drywall career and maybe a dream of one day having his own talk show.
I basically had to succumb to the constraints of my spatial issues. I wanted a talk show, which is essentially just a podcast, right? But yeah. I settled on the format for the standard kind of podcast format. Okay. Didn't have room for the desk and all that sort of stuff, so it's two chairs. And I had this idea that it would be cool to interview people that nobody fucking knows. Yeah. And just have them tell their story and get them to do wild shit. That would be a lot of fun. I would watch that.
We talk about Steve cleaning up in his younger days and a lot about running the tools and also a little bit about technique. We talk about the three-way. We talk about pre-filling and why he chooses Columbia over other brands in the auto taping world. We talk a bit about meeting the great Cameron Brown at the Fresco Harmony training at CSR in Toronto, and a lot about Fresco Harmony when, at the end of this episode, if you stay tuned, Steve turns the conversation on its head and interviews me a little bit about Fresco Harmony. So stay tuned after the Pearl of Wisdom for that. Oh, it's time to relax. One beer stands clear. No, actually, it's time for the Columbia Tools advertisement. There is a little company out of British Columbia. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. They're called Columbia Tools, and they have stepped up to the plate in the month of April with their third sponsorship of the Drywall Podcast since we started 2 years ago, and we appreciate them for that. Drywall finishers, listen up. If you want the highest quality taping tools made right here in North America, you need to check out Columbia Tools. Since 1979, they've been building tools that last, designed to make taping easy. From automatic tapers to their brand new premium hand tools, including joint knives, trowels, hawks, and mud pans, Columbia has always been innovating and pushing the trade forward, and now they're hitting the road. Columbia Tools takes a little road trip, traveling across selected states and provinces in their brand new Columbia Tools RV, bringing tools, demos, and giveaways right to your door. If you miss them at Build 25 show, you'll get lots more opportunities to see them. Go over to the Columbia Tools on all your favorite platforms to see where they are headed next, and check out their tools in action. The best tools, the smoothest finish, Columbia Tools, making taping easy since 1979. Check out my interview with Aaron and Elliott of Columbia Tools on episodes 23 and 26 way back in the day and discover how Columbia came to be the powerhouse they are. Also, we have Aaron and Elliott back on the podcast, episode 129, next Friday. You're going to want to tune in for that one. But for now, Steve Wessel of Whitby Drywall on the 128th episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. We've got Steve Whitby Drywall, out of, where are you located?
Okay, so I'm in Ajax, Ontario, which is, I don't know, half an hour out of Toronto.
This episode is about Steve Whitby, Whitby Drywall, and your journey and how you got to be here. You are the third in a generational family of people that have come onto the show. We've had Dan. But that's Wessel. Why do you guys have different last names? Is Whitby your last name, or is it?
Oh, no, no, no. Whitby is the town. Yeah, so
Okay.
Whitby Drywall
That
is
was
just
that was
like,
confusing me. So it's Steve Wessel.
yeah, yeah, I am a Wessel. This is my last name. Uh, I've been called Wessel, Whistle, Whistle, Weasel, Russell, but Wessel works.
Okay. What? How do you pronounce it, just for our audience?
Wessel. Let's,
Wessel.
I think it, I think it has roots in German, but I think pretty well most whites probably have some form of tie back to Germany in some
Okay.
portion.
Am I the only numbskull that thinks your last name is Whitby?
No, no, all the time.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
Just
some people call me Steve Whitby or just Whitby. It's like, hey, I have a name. Um, you
Whitby.
know, hey Whitby. No, no,
Why
it's
did you
Steve.
why did you name but you live in Ajax?
Okay, but Ajax Drywall was already taken.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
was like, I was adamant on owning the corporation name. I didn't want a number. I didn't want to doing business as, I want I wanted that shit. I wanted it to be mine.
Okay.
And when I found that Ajax Drywall was already taken, I was like, okay. I was rebranding my business. Uh, there I am, 10 years working in Toronto. I got tired of spending 3 hours a day on the road, just the commute back and forth.
That's a ton. You're not the only one. Drywallers tend to do that.
But
We haven't figured out to work in one area. I don't know why,
well,
as a
the
collective.
issue is there's a ton of work there, but when
Right.
you take a job from where I live to Toronto is an hour and a half at any time in the morning or afternoon. But it's only about 40 kilometers. Like realistically, it should be a 20-minute drive, but
Okay.
30 minutes max. But it's 16 lanes of nonsense.
Yeah.
And I just got tired of doing that. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna move my business and go more in my area, kind of like a Durham region, which is my kind of area.
Okay.
And Ajax was already taken. So I was like, all right, well, what do I want to do here? I could go for the next town over towards Toronto was Pickering. And I was like, well, if I go there, I'm still probably going to ping in, all of the areas I didn't want to do that. So I kind of removed myself, went further east away from the city, and it just seems to work.
Family. So
Hmm.
we've got you. I want to say Daniel. Is that correct?
Yeah, Dan? Yeah.
Okay. Because I forget. I seriously haven't talked to him since the show. Because it's too many like to follow up. Great episode. If you are a Blue Steel,
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic. We talk about the Blue Steel, but then I turn him into Zoolander on his cover. Did you listen to that episode?
I like a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
while
it's
ago. And then
quite a
even
while.
farther back, we had your dad,
That's right.
Royce and Steve, another Steve, with the
The
three-way.
creator of the three-way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have kind of this rich family history, and I remember going up to when I first went to CSR to showcase Fresco Harmony wares. It was a Black Friday event. I met everybody, and I got to meet Royce. Royce, I think, was the first family member that I met of yours. And there's a little gaggle of you guys, but great guy.
Gaggle.
And I think Brad was kind of having Royce inadvertently vet Fresco Harmony to make sure it was like, hey, is this legit? But Royce being the like, and to give you guys an idea, Royce is he's like an all-star finisher. He's like old school, really good. like best of the best, like, and a super nice guy, like just one of the nicest guys. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't, but like I liked him. And he gave sort of a favorable review of Fresco Harmony. We got into CSR. They've done a couple jobs now, but Royce and Steve developed this little product called the three-way. We could talk about that a little bit too, but this episode is about Steve, the third of three family members now that's been on the podcast. So that's kind of cool. Like, when did you start doing drywall? Was Royce like, you are not going to do anything else, boy? Get your ass in the truck. We're going to the job site. I'm going to have, and also, two-part question. There's more of you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So there are brothers, stepbrothers, adopted, whatever. Royce has raised a ton of kids.
Like a hockey team.
Yeah. Yeah, he's raised a ton of kids over the years.
Okay.
And us being Dan and I being a couple of them.
Okay. Can
drywall
we give an overview of the family members or no?
Yeah, for sure. So there's me, being the youngest, Dan,
Okay.
next one up. Then we've got stepbrothers Trevor and Shay.
Okay. Shout out to Trevor and Shay.
Yeah, and then there's also Zach, which would be like a stepbrother / adoptive brother kind of thing. And so they're much older than Dan and I.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're about 10 years older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
then not to forget Josie. I got to meet Josie. That's Steve's mom at the last Black Friday. Beautiful.
Yep.
Like, just a great person. You got some good parents, dude.
Yeah, I did all right, I suppose.
Yeah, you got lucky.
I mean, I could have done worse. That's for sure.
Sure. Okay, so Dan and Steve are like, you're sort of the youngest, you're coming up, your dad's been in drywall for years. How did you get sucked into this quagmire?
Because that's how it is. You don't choose drywall. Drywall chooses
Right.
you. There's one of those one of those situations where it's like, hey, your options are relatively narrowing in these moments. You need to do something. And so that's what it was for me. I wasn't doing anything good. We'll put it at that. I was not I was a bad apple and I needed employment. So school and I didn't get along.
Yep. Classic.
And I went to work, so I was on and off as a taper, doing that between other jobs and other, money-making schemes and things like that along the way. And then I just ended up digging into it full time, and that's what happened. There's no real come up in story or whatever. It just kind of happened around.
We're gonna dig down, buddy. We're gonna dig down into the marrow. But Royce was available. Did you work with Royce?
Yes. Yeah, that's where I started. Was like yeah.
Was he
right
like,
away,
boy? Was he like, boy, get your fucking ass in the truck? Or was it like, Dad, I want to come check it out. I want to come work with you.
Honestly, neither. It was kind of like, hey, you got to do something, and this is available for you to do. Take it or leave it. Okay.
And it was your dad. It was kind of your dad, and you could be a screw up a little bit, but it was familiar, and it was you were with your family, so there was a smaller margin for being a derelict, so to speak.
To a degree, there was never anything like on site. He wasn't, growing up, he wasn't one of those drywallers that would allow things like drinking or drugs on site or anything like that, right? So it wasn't like we were exposed to degeneracy immediately. kind of thing. I did that all on my own.
Okay. No,
So
Royce was a pro. What
yeah,
was the name? What was the name of his company at the time?
couldn't tell you.
Couldn't even don't even remember. And
It's I'm
well,
so
it
at the
was a
time,
foggy
so
time for you.
it was. There's some. I was in and out of reality. It probably wasn't a company, so to speak. Like he had where we lived at the time, you didn't work for like say other drywall contractors where you worked directly for the builders,
Okay.
right? So you go
Okay.
in and you could go in just as, Royce with your HST number or your tax number, and you could just do a job. You didn't have to have a business name. As long
Okay.
as you were reputable, you could work. So I don't know what he would have called himself at the time other than his name.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Was he working with anybody else at the time, or was it just him?
No, so my brother Trevor was working. My mom worked for a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
But my brother Trevor worked with
Josie
him
was
like for a
working.
long time.
Josie was doing
Yeah,
drywall.
she spent some time on site.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was neat. I don't know. I couldn't give you the specifics on how long. I was in and out of it. I did it when nothing else worked.
Okay.
I was probably pretty vehemently opposed to the idea at the beginning of becoming uh, a drywaller because like any uh, 16-year-old with hopes and dreams, you think you're going to be this, or you think you're going to be that, and sometimes it takes a little while for you to come around to reality, which is you need a fucking job.
Make it through school, or you
No.
didn't? You had to drop out. So there were other things
I was let go. Yeah.
you were let go of that job.
Uh,
That
yeah.
there were some other things. So you were out there, man. You were a loose cannon.
A little bit. Yeah. Just, living life.
We don't have to get into it too much, but was drugs and like alcohol part of that like crazy time for you?
Oh, big time.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a lifestyle. It was an occupation. It was,
Sure. Okay.
and so, and I'm not ashamed of my past. I don't really care. I just
Okay.
don't go into like gory details about it, right? But, it was not an enthusiastic choice, obviously, for my parents for me to
Yeah.
do.
No. No.
Uh, Nobody wants to see that. So
No.
the door to drywall remained open as I
Yeah.
moved in,
Yeah. Yeah,
right? So
that was always
yeah.
sort of an knob. And I mean, we're painting a picture here. So like in essence, like that was sort of a saving grace for you. Did you get involved with like recovery or anything like that?
Oh yeah. And I did that. I cleaned my life together, moved across the country, made entirely new friends, stopped
Okay.
talking to all the old people because it's the only way you can really get out of an entire lifestyle is you
Are
have to
you
leave it behind.
are you clean today?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. How much do you actively go to like meetings and stuff?
Nope. No, no. I haven't
Okay.
had to do that a long, long time. Uh,
Okay.
I received, there was some mandatory counseling sessions as well, as I had to do, groups and stuff like that. There's some mandatory stuff I cleaned up. Uh, and then I hung out kind of where I was still, and it was a quick, like, it was going to go downhill real fast. So I moved across the country, continued the downward, just
Yeah.
meeting new people. But I have a habit of not meeting, or I had a habit at the time. Now it's different because
Yeah.
again, it's like that energy that you put out, right? I had a
Yeah.
habit of meeting the wrong people all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I went through a transformative period where I
Okay.
had to discover who I really was too. And so I moved away again and I went up north from where we are now.
Okay.
And I tried my hand at some various things, but it always ends up leading back to drywall.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just one of those I wanted to be a rock star. I played in some bands, all sorts of different stuff, had a whole ton of different occupations. I've pretty well been let go of every job I've ever had that wasn't drywall. When you're young enough, you have the luxury of making mistakes and having the energy to start over.
Yeah.
So I would encourage anybody to do that. Maybe not like the heavy mistakes, stay away from certain things, but like it's a time to go out and live your life.
Yeah.
From late teens to mid 20s, nobody really considers you as like a full-on kind of adult anyways, right? So you get out there, you just do your thing and try to have some fun, try to get those experiences under your belt.
Nice. And we you had I'm going to divert a little bit from the storyline. You had a little 20 Days of Christmas thing that you were doing live on Instagram, and I popped in one day and played music, and then I heard you playing music too. I don't know if you played on there or a little bit, but I saw some of your chops. Pretty cool. Maybe we'll get to jam one day a little bit, but I
hope so.
I too hold this like special place in my heart for music. If I wasn't doing what I am doing, I think that I would just be like a bum musician and like write music and do that.
There's a massive barrier you have to break just to where you can even turn in income, let alone just lose money consistently, which is kind of where I was at when I was in a band. It was fun and you had to spend money and you didn't really make any, but it was super fun.
Yeah.
With super cool people.
Yeah.
And you get to create, because creating any form of art to me is like that's like the pinnacle of our existence. That's what I've kind of formulated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because without all the various forms of art that we have, you don't really there's no culture.
Yeah.
How do you develop culture without art? You have language and you have invention, ingenuity, but you require other things, outlets.
Yeah.
And so whether it's music, I write little like scenarios and scenes and working on. I've got 100 started and unfinished projects that'll probably never see the light of day.
Sure.
The one pushing forward on right now is, in today's day, you can do almost anything. Look at this. This is crazy. You can have just like your own channel of you doing shit that you want to do. And I always wanted to have a talk show growing up.
Okay.
And still do, yeah. And like with the desk, suit, coffee mug, the little mic, and the little guest, maybe like the sidekick or whatever.
Yeah.
I always thought that would be a cool thing to do, but it takes an insane amount of space to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I haven't done it, but I've been kind of moving forward on a little bit of a visual thing.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens. I basically had to succumb to the constraints of my spatial issues. I wanted a talk show, which is essentially just a podcast, right? But I settled on the format for the standard kind of podcast format. Didn't have room for the desk and all that sort of stuff, so it's 2 chairs. And I had this idea that it would be cool to interview people that nobody fucking knows. And just have them tell their story and get them to do wild shit. That would be a lot of fun. I would watch that.
Yeah.
But do you remember, were you ever a fan of Tom Green?
Yeah. Yeah. Kids in the Hall.
So Tom Green had a talk show. It was the Tom Green Show, but he had Webo Vision as well, which is essentially like
Tom Green was in there with there was a cast of characters, Ben Stiller, but there's a book by Bob Odenkirk. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I've met Bob a couple times.
Oh,
For all
cool.
you that don't know, that's Saul from Better Call
Yeah,
Saul,
yeah.
the TV show, sort of spin-off from Breaking Bad.
And he's
But
hilarious too.
my ex-wife worked on Saul. She was travel coordinator, and she went on to do other things. But he wrote a book called Comedy, 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 Drama, and it's pretty fantastic. I listened to it, but he wrote The Van Down by the River. He was a writer for SNL, and
Okay.
he worked with some pretty interesting characters. I mean, I talked to him very very minimally. I met him a couple times, but he's a
As
very
much as you
dry,
can.
very dry. Yeah, I didn't bug him or anything. Kind of not like it doesn't. Kind of weird. Doesn't like people a whole lot. But we chatted a little bit about United Soccer and stuff. I didn't realize his history was as thick as it was. But Tom Green comes into that picture a little bit with some of the projects preceding
Yeah.
Breaking Bad, SNL, and all the stuff that he was working on. These people are artists too, and they have the same struggles as the rest of us. But it's a very interesting story if you get a chance. So, sorry, go ahead with your.
Oh no. To be honest, I enjoy just listening to it too. So it's called Comedy, 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 Drama.
Yeah, yeah, he wrote it. He's an amazing writer. Like,
I'm just writing it down.
yeah, and he narrates it if you're interested in getting the audio version.
Book on tape.
Yeah.
I've always said that there should be
Well, I believe nowadays, Steve, they call it audiobooks.
audiobooks, a book on
Yeah.
tape. Yeah, I'm
If you
showing
get a
my age.
tape, if you get a tape, you might have a hard time playing that somewhere.
So audiobooks, I think, would be great with ultra distinctive voices. So
Let's
that
go back to your talk show though. You're sort of outlining this sort of idea. What is inhibiting you, or maybe you have this idea? Is there
I
you want
inhibited
more
myself.
you want more space? Well, there's always time. There's always you're still very young.
Yeah. So
uh,
I inhibited myself. I have a habit of like going hard at a project, getting it to a certain point, and then just finding something new.
okay.
Um, I do it a lot. And I just a little while ago I was sitting there and I was talking. I can't remember who I was talking with, but I was like, I'm tired of not doing the things that I want to do. I never finish them, blah blah.
Love it.
So a friend of mine was like, well, why don't you set a date? Set an actual date to start it, book someone in, and then do what you do, which is kind
Okay.
of thrive in the chaos and pressure of that.
Okay.
Uh, and and so that's what I did. And so I have it booked in for mid-April. So
Okay.
we are going ahead. I've never done anything like it
Wait,
before.
wait, wait. Going ahead with what, man? Come on. Don't leave us
It's
hanging.
it's a podcast slash
Uh,
talk show where I'm going
Okay.
to there just do whatever the fuck I want.
Yes.
Because that's the
Of
beauty of YouTube and all that sort of stuff.
the reason that the Drywall podcast is cool is because, well, I mean, you have to have authenticity, but you have to
Yeah.
be able. I think the interviewer has to be good, and there has to be a sort of a structure. But keeping the interview authentic and having new content constantly is paramount to retention, like listener retention.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have to be the ultimate goal either. The beauty is that you can do whatever you want.
There's nothing holding me back anymore from doing it. We're in the digital age.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
went out, I got the whole thing, like the three camera setup.
Okay.
And I learned a little bit about how to edit these things and how to do the sound production, which I
Yep.
already had some experience with anyways.
Yeah.
And
With the music.
yeah, and so I just and so I write all these little scripts And I thought it would be cool to do like a variety show, which is
Okay.
basically like an interview with somebody, but then also kind of maybe get them to do, if I can, get them to do something a little wacky in a skit or something on,
Love it.
even if it's only 30 seconds, I don't care. Just have some fun and maybe kind of start pushing people outside of their comfort zones too, because the it's good energy. It's fun. Something I want to do. I want to try it. I won't be satisfied until I try.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's no rhyme or reason for what it is. There's no niche, like you've got a niche, for instance, right? And I didn't want to stick myself into a niche because I want to be able to talk about,
Good for you. Yeah.
sexy SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And sorry, I had to think of something. It's what I'm looking at, sexy
Yeah. Yeah.
SpongeBob.
Okay.
So
Do you have a name? Do you have a name for the show?
that is where I'm left hanging. I took a
You,
poll a little
okay.
while
You
ago
don't have you
and I
don't have to
asked
have
for
it.
some,
You don't have
but
to.
you know what? One of the things that I thought would be fun would just be to call it Steve because I don't fucking know. It's me and it's what I want to do. And it's like, oh, it's a little kind of narcissistic of you, but fuck it,
Oh,
it's mine.
Oprah.
Yeah, there you go. Phil, Dr.
Yeah.
Phil,
Dr. Phil. Yeah. I think
apparently he's
you're
not a
fine with
real
Steve.
doctor.
This is great. Oh, great. And so you have a mid-April tentative launch date. Do you have a guest in
I
mind for
do,
your
yeah,
first?
I have a guest. I booked
Okay.
the whole thing in
Beautiful.
to kind of to force my own hand. Again, if it doesn't fucking work, who cares?
Let's go back to Steve. You're okay. So you're working with your dad. I assume you're clean at this time.
Eventually,
Eventually.
yeah, I think what was I, 25, 26-ish, something like that, when I
Okay.
made my way back I
Okay.
think I was 25. Made my way back to go at it full time again. Yeah.
And you had sort of changed. You shifted. You're like, okay, I'm a little older. I'm gonna work with my dad. I'm gonna get my chops. Did you pick it up pretty quick?
Well, I already had a bunch of like skill
Totally.
prior, right? So
Yeah.
I had, through the times that I had done already with them, I had already picked up a bunch. And for me, drywall was relatively easy to pick up.
Yeah.
I know it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people, and some guys that are really good, it just takes them a little bit longer to figure stuff out or whatever. It was relatively simple for me. Um, there was things that weren't. Part of that was just getting used to. It took me a lot of years to get used to just being fucking filthy all the time. That used to drive me nuts.
Huh.
Uh,
Are you a pretty clean finisher?
I No, I'm not, and that's why it bothered me so much. I get impatient with certain things,
Okay.
so I like to have clean tools, so I will just clean my tools on my clothes,
Oh,
right? And
yeah.
it's not that if I were to go through and not do that, I'd probably be pretty clean. But I get this one patch on
Oh,
my leg where I wipe my knife constantly. Uh,
yeah.
and once that gets a little chunky, when you're skimming something, if you got something on your blade and it doesn't work properly, and I'm just like, well, this is
Yeah.
what I do. I don't carry a hanky
That's a
or anything like
balance.
that.
I feel like it's a balance though. Like so, yeah. I mean, as long as the edge of my blade is clean on my hawk, I don't need to go to the pants. Like I'll like take a little thumb thing on my pants, but like not if I have to. But I think there's a balance there where yeah, you allow your tools to get a certain amount dirty, and then at break time I'll clean them. I'll clean my tools twice at lunch and at the end of the day. Like,
Yeah, I'm
and you can get, but some people really have to have their tools clean constantly, which can be inhibiting.
I more so I think it's just out of like my willingness to want to just get the job done, that I don't really focus on being clean.
Yeah.
I try to
Okay.
keep as much of it off the floor,
Okay.
but like where some people, like if a blob's coming down, I'll put myself in the way of it to keep it off the floor and then just scrape the mud off my clothes. Like, when you hit like a
Yeah.
pot light or something and it's gonna come down, I'll let it hit me instead of the floor.
You don't catch it.
Um,
You catch it
yeah,
sometime.
or if I'll just catch like, oh, I'm running my box, I'll catch it with my arm, like,
Oh,
and
funny.
just scrape, throw it off.
And
Um,
how do you still are you still like do you still get distracted by being dirty?
no, not anymore. Now I
Not
almost
anymore.
kind of like
Doesn't matter.
it's like a level in it a little bit. Like I'm a little hog just rolling in my own filth.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Hello and welcome to a filthy episode of the Drywall Podcast with Steve
Steve the
Wessel,
hog.
Steve Wessel of Whitby Drywall. Was Royce running the tools? Did you learn how to run the tools out of the gate, or is he like old school hand finisher?
So he's old school in the way that he teaches you.
He
That's for
seems
sure.
he seems old school.
Yeah, so it's like you know, you must spot 10,000 screws before you can move on to mixing mud or whatever, right?
Picking angles, like picking
Yeah.
angles. He was probably like just crazy, like weird about angles because he invented the
Yeah, and
three-way.
some people, but so when it came to that, I picked up some skill that way, but for the most part, like machines, I was mostly self-taught. I just picked them up. They didn't really use them at the time. So
Okay.
I just picked them up and I just started using them. And then I got a couple of pointers along the way. I had mentioned previously before, there's a few guys that have given me some invaluable information as far as machines go. This guy, Doug, for one, was he showed me some pretty cool tricks. Like troweling is one of those things, like someone can show you how to trowel, but you got to figure that shit out. Like that's such a unique, like I wouldn't say it's a personal thing, but it really is. Like I
Yeah.
can show you this is how I put the mud on and this is how I hold the hawk and trowel, but you really have to figure that out yourself.
Did have
What
you?
what do we got there in the background? I keep looking at it and I have to know. Uh right there. Yes.
That's a Sears Silvertone. It's like a 1960s Sears Silvertone amp. Yeah.
That is vintage as fuck.
Yeah.
I've been curious
Yeah.
what it was the whole time.
Yeah, it's an old tube amp.
That's dope.
That thing's raunchy.
I bet it is. There's nothing beats solid state's dope because you can punch it up at low volumes, but when it comes to actual sound, you can't beat tube. Sorry.
Clean finishing. You said that you didn't start out like Royce is old school. Um, but they do use the tools now. You use the tools, obviously. Let's like skip forward to, you learned like from one of the greats, Royce. Great finisher, so you probably are a really good finisher. I've seen your work, but it's always hard to tell online and shit.
It's impossible to tell.
You really don't know how somebody works unless you fucking work with them,
Yeah, exactly.
like ever.
I
And you can look at somebody's shit, but you can't, I don't think you can tell anything from like social
100%
media.
because you take a photo of the work
Yeah.
and then you could it's like, oh, that photo doesn't look perfect. Let me turn the brightness up a hair. And then
And
it's perfect.
you don't see like the little angles and shit. Like people do Fresco Harmony, like all the Fresco Harmony jobs on camera look amazing, but I've seen like Fresco Harmony done kind of sloppily, and it's like, those angles, they could have been
You
sharper, like that sort of thing.
you can never tell. The camera is your friend as a drywall finisher.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
It
it's
ain't like having a light.
no, certainly not. And I guess it's one of the, it also depends, like how critical are you are you capable of being critical of your own things, right? Because not everybody is. Not everybody, you wonder like how can you not see that detail, but it might not even be, for me, I'm blind as a bat and I can see it, which means you can see it because you got 20/20 vision. So I think that some people are not capable of critiquing their own stuff well enough.
Right,
Like
right.
I did it, now it's perfect. And so yeah, I've seen lots of work over the years and lots of good work and lots of bad work, and that's how I figured out how to do good work, I guess. Mediocre
Yeah.
work. Better than sloppy. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
I get by.
Yeah. And then but you do use the tools. Do you use all the tools?
As many as I can think of. I mean, if it's going to speed it up and not give me a shitty quality, then I'll use it.
Yeah.
So there's things that like I don't find necessary that I know a lot of people gravitate towards, like big, wide skimming blades and things like that. And they're
Yeah.
great for like a bead to bead kind of application, but like nothing's gonna beat doing it by hand.
I mean,
Um,
like a patch, I could see it, like a butt joint.
they there's time and a place, I guess. There's time and place for every tool. Every tool I like owning them. I like owning these tools so that if I
Yeah.
ever do need them, but mostly I just kind of approach every job in the same way, which is uh I learned how to tape with one of those tape pulls, the super tapers or whatever. Like, the you pull it into the box or the bucket, like zzz, and a lot of people still use it, and you can
Yeah.
be very efficient with it.
Yeah.
If you do it right. And it's a great place to start. Like if you're just getting into the trade or you're just going out on your own, you got to buy your own tools. They're pretty fucking inexpensive.
I think the Gilbert taping still uses theirs,
My
even
brother
though
Dan does.
Columbia's probably giving them three bazookas.
But I mean, if that's where they're making their money, then that's where they're making their money. I know loads of people that, I know a lot of people that have a bazooka sitting in their garage because it is deceiving. Bazookas are deceiving. It looks like you should just be able to run and gun with it right out of the box. But just like anything that's worth using, it takes a minute to get used to.
Oh
You gotta
yeah.
lose a bit of, you gotta lose a bit of money to make a bit of money.
I think once you learn how to use a bazooka though, you're finishing houses. It's like just go use the fucking bazooka. That's my opinion. At the end of the day, all the methods. I've seen the banjos, dudes with banjos,
Yep.
shitbox, like bazookas. But I've ran a shitload of bazookas, so like, yeah, the time it takes me to clean the damn bazooka and the pump, who cares?
Yeah, well, I don't even clean. I just wrap them up and then I take them to the car wash. Spray them all down, and that's that.
Yeah,
Um, I think that it is, in my opinion, a superior method, but not in a sense of like effort, because it's slightly more, I guess, harder on the body, maybe. I don't know if it is or isn't. I haven't experienced anything of that nature other than like I have a bit of a bad shoulder. So like when
yeah,
I run my tops one way, but I actually switch hands to run my up and downs just because of
yeah.
some damage I did earlier in life to it.
It's cool.
And
I've always thought it's cool that you have to be ambidextrous to run like the drywall tools. That part's kind of cool.
yeah, it's because you have to work your way multiple different ways.
You got to go
And
both ways. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's not just for the three ways.
yeah.
Um,
Hey, the three-way too. Speaking of the three-way, do you use the three-way? I know that there's validity to the three-way. They've gotten some good press and maybe some not so good press. What's your take on the three-way? How do you use it? Um, yeah, let's
as
hear it.
with absolutely any product, if it's new and it's in drywall, everyone's going to shit on it for a while.
Yeah.
Uh, and then some people will use it and then they'll find they like it, and some people use it and they find they don't like it. And then
Hmm.
it's just another fucking product out there.
Yeah.
Um, I don't use them
Yeah.
uh, for the most part. So I don't pre-fill broken board anymore because why would I do that? When I get, you know,
I,
when
I
you,
I've never been like a big fan of pre-filling, and I mean, people will probably think I'm crazy, but especially when I was working piece rate, I was like, dude, it don't pay. And then like, who at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like it matters.
so when I get a delivery, say to a basement or something, a lot of times if it's a carry down the stairs, you got broken corners everywhere, right? So you end up with a broken, three ways that are broken. If you got to pre-fill it, then you put your tapes in, but then you still got to put in like tiny little pieces to cover all that broken part out. And I don't bother
Sure.
doing that. I'll take a three-way and I'll just throw it right up into that corner
There you go. There you go.
because it's rigid and it's mud in, and I haven't had a problem with it yet. So I use them extensively for that. Except
Okay.
I don't,
Yeah.
that's not kind of a that's not the norm for me. Um, I
Right.
think that I have worked alongside a lot of people who should use them
Okay.
because they just fucking suck at doing them. And
Okay.
that's just, I think if you struggle with them, then use them.
Yeah.
If you're not, if you find that you're spending 10 minutes to sand out a three-way, or you're taking longer than, 2 or 3 minutes to between coating them once and then skimming them, if it's taking you longer than a couple of minutes overall, you should be using them. Uh,
Nice.
Not so much for your like, because I'm sure you can just sand them eventually clean and straight, but like save yourself some time because time is money.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
That's where I see them. And then anybody like if you're a general contractor, but maybe you're not a big enough you're just doing bathrooms or the odd kitchen or something, you do most of the stuff yourself. You're probably not any good at three ways, so fucking use them. Great. I think if you're a veteran of the game, you're a day-to-day finisher, especially in the subdivision, it's going to be impossible to get a guy like that to use them. First off, the subdivisions, the rates are low. They make you pay for your own materials. And, why is a guy going to add that much money to, you know? And so I understand that as well. So in concept, they're a very cool idea. They're just not for everybody, which is fine
Yeah.
because, that's life.
Yeah.
Um,
But you carry a package around with you just in case.
I think that every finisher could benefit from having a 25 pack in their truck.
Totally.
Because again, you go to a job, instead of just trying to pre-fill and tape in those little
Yeah.
pieces in the three ways, just throw one in. It works
Yeah.
just as well. It's
Especially
simple.
especially remodels, like because they're all fucked up anyways.
Yeah,
Like,
or if you've got, well, one of the ones that I did, not, I think I did it last year, I put one in every single corner because it was an old plaster remodel. And so they were all just rounded off to begin with.
right.
So because it's that old plaster, it's got like that like half
Yeah,
an inch of round in all the
pencil
corners.
little pencil curl.
Yeah, so the and they wanted square corners. They wanted them all fixed. So I how am I gonna like cut all that out? It's gonna take fucking forever. So I took the claw of a hammer, of a framing hammer, and I just smashed it in all the corners. And I just bing, 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 and then I just threw them in. Because that one little hit took out that round along with, a half an inch around it in either direction. And I just stuck
Awesome.
them in there. Yeah, well, I think that again, everything has its place.
Good answer. Good answer. And then you're running predominantly Columbia
Yeah,
tools. Why do you like
yeah.
Columbia?
I used to not have a preference, and then I thought maybe I was going to be an elitist on the North Star end.
Yeah.
But then uh, I had used North Star, I'd used Tape Tech, I had used Appletech,
Okay.
and Columbia. A flat box is a flat box is a flat box.
Okay.
I'm just going to put that out there.
That's
They
fine.
all do essentially the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, but you know who's got maintenance and repair parts in every fucking store? Columbia.
Columbia. Okay.
I do not have to go. And for me, that was automatic like win. I can go into any drywall supplier in my local area and they will have repair parts, replacement parts, maintenance
Okay.
parts, whatever. Um, when it comes to things like, so I think that they're probably at the top of the game for certain things. Um, I think that their angle heads that go on like the throttle box, like that whole setup, you're not going to beat that. Those
Okay.
things are dope. Um, the their team up with Graco, those automatic pumps are unreal.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
And someone said to me that you don't know how much work you do until you don't do it anymore. And that's actually
Yeah.
Cam that said that to me. And
Nice.
because yeah, he helped me kind of set it up and get it. He took the time to help me put it all together when they shipped it to me and stuff.
Wait,
And
Cam was in Canada helping you put a pump together?
no, like he took time from his day for like a video call, and yeah, he's just a generous dude with his time. And showed me because he's a pretty big advocate for using those things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy how awesome those are. And so,
Yeah.
Columbia obviously got their little faceplate audit, which was a great idea.
Yeah.
Um,
Smart.
what a like a killer branding. Those guys, they
Yeah.
understand how to hit the market. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Which I envy. I think it's such a cool skill to have,
Yeah.
marketing and there. But like, I use the tools because again, I can fix them at any given point. All the instructional videos online, I can rebuild all my own shit. Well, I don't have to lose it for a week sending it in somewhere unless it's major. I can just do it all. All the YouTube videos that they have of complete teardowns and rebuilds.
Yeah.
That's a win for me. That is why I kind of went full stop on that.
All right. Good answer. When did you get to meet Cam? And we're talking about Cam from Cameron Brown from It's Your Man. Cam, the late great person that we all knew and loved.
So the first time, the only time I met in person was actually when I met you in person. Was at the Fresco
Train.
thing at SR, but we got to speak, times, phone calls, that sort of stuff. And like
Yeah.
I said, he was generous with his time,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
He's
I really appreciated. Yeah.
he's one of my absolute favorites, man.
He's dope. And so
Uh,
I am forever grateful, but I'm grateful for anybody that's willing to take the time out of their day to explain things. There's guys that make awesome content that is incredibly educational. There's guys that will um, take time to explain things to you that you don't understand. So anybody that does that, winner in my books, because a lot of them have multiple thousands of followers and stuff, right? They probably get a lot of messages like that. And I
yeah.
figure if they're taking the time to answer mine, they're probably taking the time to answer a lot of other people's because they
Yeah.
don't know me from Adam either. And so yeah, I respect that.
Yeah. And
Um,
lastly, Steve Wessel,
yeah,
Whitby Drywall. I like that.
yeah.
Your pearl of wisdom to bestow on the drywall community. What is it?
It's a personality thing. Okay. Don't be a pretentious elitist asshole. Okay. Uh, and would I like to have something more, to do with drywall technique or whatever? Sure. But that's actually the big one that stands out in my mind is don't be an asshole. Everybody seems to want to critique the living shit out of everybody. You post a video, there's always going to be somebody that tells you you're doing it wrong or you're too slow and like fucking like
Yeah.
go away.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, don't be like that. There's tons of different ways to do a good job in this trade. So don't be that guy. or girl,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
That is my pearl of wisdom. Don't be an asshole.
Love it. It's challenging in the drywall trade because there's a lot of ways to make a smooth wall, and we have ample amount of tools and materials out
Yep.
there to achieve that, or not a smooth wall, as it were. As it
Yeah.
pertains to fresco, we're right in
Yeah.
between a level 4 and texture. It looks smooth, but if you shine a light down it, it's not. Like,
It
I'm
blew me
I'm
away that it was
challenging.
smooth to the touch, though.
I'm challenging the paradigm of like, does a wall actually have to be perfectly smooth, And there's nothing wrong with that, you know? All right, buddy.
Well,
Steven Wessel, Whitby Drywall,
that's me.
out of Ajax, Canada. Ajax, yeah,
Ontario.
Ontario. That's what I'm looking for there. Oh,
Yeah,
and thank you.
Apex, Ontario, Canada.
Thank you so much for being on the Drywall Podcast today.
Thanks
Let's
for having me,
keep
man.
in touch. Hopefully, I inspired you a little bit there at the end. I appreciate your time, man. And we'll talk soon. Go crush it today, dude.
Yep, I'm out of here. Thank you.
All right, bud. Talk to you soon. Huge shout out to Steve for being with us on the Drywall Podcast today. You, my friend, will get a sweet swag bucket from our friends over at CSR for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. I appreciate it. I know our listeners appreciate it. If you'd like to come onto the Drywall Podcast, you can email me at info@frescoharmony.com and let me know why, and we'll get you on. If you haven't heard from me, keep bugging me. We'll get you on the show. I want to hear your story, and I know our listeners do too. Stay tuned after the podcast closes, and there will be an added bonus podcast of me and Steve talking about Fresco Harmony. Also, I'd like to give a big, warm Drywall Podcast shout out to Columbia Tools for sponsoring the podcast in the month of April. If you missed them at the Build 25 show, you'll get more opportunities to see them because they are on the road. Follow Columbia Tools on all your favorite platforms to see where they are headed next and to check out their tools in action. The best tools, the smoothest finish. Columbia Tools, making taping easy since 1979. Thank you for tuning into the Drywall Podcast today. I know you have a lot of choices when you go to tune into a podcast, and today I'm glad you chose this one. I hope that you all have an amazing weekend. Stay tuned for a little snippet with Steve and I talking about Fresco Harmony. And yeah, keep drywalling.
Well, I think with your product too, it's going to really speak to people in the remodeling industry too, right? Versus like the new build, where
Yeah.
I remember you saying that you could go in to a house, say popcorn ceiling, trowel right over it and fresco right over it without any sanding in someone's house. When you think about it from the homeowner's perspective,
Yeah, they love
a pretty
it.
big maneuver. That's a big maneuver.
Well, and the last job we just did was they did plaster, traditional plaster with lath and like New Mexico, old school lath brown coat plaster system. Took 2 weeks, one wall. They took out the baseboard because it builds the wall out. Like all this stuff. They scratched the floor. The guy was there forever. Dust everywhere. I did twice as much footage for the same price. I was there 4 days. Stairwell, scaffold, 3 coats, go in there, prep it, get the base coat on in 2 days, and then second coat and sealer next 2 days. Done. I think 16 hours total.
How did you develop the idea for the sealer?
Originally, I was like, I copied the plaster guys. We saw these plaster dudes they were putting on like Ocon, like a sponge with a round edge sponge, so that they don't leave marks. But when I started doing it, I was doing 2 coats of this sponge on water-based acrylic, like because you had to seal it somehow. I was like, you have to seal drywall mud. It's too porous, it's just soft. It was still soft, even when you're doing 2 coats of this acrylic water-based, but it was kind of okay. Like, but when you look down the side, you'd see these billowy, like sort of, sponge marks. And I did it that way for 2 years. And then I was on a project where we were covering up heavy adobe wall, and I had hired this stucco company to lath and brown coat all of these adobe walls. So adobe brick is like this heavy undulating brick that you see in the Southwest. Well, the homeowners, they had too much of it. The homeowners wanted it gone. And I think these guys came in and did it for $2 a square foot. Well, this company was using a product called Variance, much like Marmarino. It was like a acrylic plaster system. And I asked the owner, I was like, hey man, is there some type of a trowel-on sealer? I want something more substantial to like seal the drywall with, And intrinsically, I just felt like there was probably something that was trowelable, that was heavy duty. Like that's what Fresco Harmony.
Search far wide for this product, and he landed on it where?
He was like, yeah, use Modern Masters Top Coat. This stuff, Modern Masters made a product called Top Coat. They still do. And I used that for 6 years. I would do a sponge coat, and then I would do the top coat. I did that for years. So 2 coats of mud, 2 coats of sealer, 4 coats total. Whether you're going over existing texture or new level 3 drywall. And finally, I did a project up at my sister's, and I just got rid of the sponge sealer because it was such a nightmare. You had to have this container, and if you're doing sealing, is dripping on you, and I hated it. And finally, I was just like, why the fuck am I using this sponge sealer? And I like divorced it, and I just did a job, and I tried just using the trowel sealer. And what happened was the sponge sealer was disallowing the trowel sealer to seep in. And I was like, fuck, dude, not only is it faster and I get rid of this whole medium, but it works better, like using this trowel sealer. Okay, so fast forward. Now I got the system down to 3 coats. So then fast forward, they changed, like Modern Masters sold to Glidden or something, like these big companies combined, and the product changed. The top coat was starting to flake, and like if the slightest bit of cold air blew on the wall, it would flake. And it had this ammonia smell that was just nauseous. Gross. It was horrible. Like they were putting some type of weird ammonia in, so like you couldn't even do a bathroom. And it like
you don't want that. You don't want to put that in people's houses either.
No. And so still
upset.
It was still like a water-based product. But then funny enough, I talked with the manufacturer of Variants, like out of Albuquerque, my competitor. And I was doing an exterior product, and I was like, hey man, do you have any type of sealer that I could purchase from you guys and private label? And he's like, yeah, we actually do. And the rest is history. I was like, get me a little bit to try. And then I started buying. He was like, I'll give you a discount if you buy 10 gallons at a time. And I started buying 10 gallons. Now I'm buying 2 drums.
Now you don't have to use that stinky ammonia based.
No, and it was essential for the end-to-end product. So not only do we have the color, but we also have the sealer. And I can call the manufacturer and be like, hey man, there's chunks in it. Hey, can you make the gloss a little shinier? Hey, we're having a weird issue, with it yellowing. We had yellowing recently. So now I can if it's heavy, the satin sealer was yellowing a little bit on white colors. So I can solve those issues. So I have control over the sealer, which is a big deal. God, that was huge. Yeah. But so that was about 6-7 years ago that we finally, and the odor, there's no odor. It's water-based, very eco-friendly, great stuff.
So about 6 or 7 years ago, you kind of perfected what you have going forward now, the system that you do sell. With the system that you do sell, do you travel around a lot doing demos of it?
No, we do just when a new retailer takes on our product, I'll go and do a
Right.
training. So, and then I've done
So no, like
trainings.
you're not hitting trade shows, you're not hitting.
I mean, I need to, yeah, I would like to do that more. If we came up with a big, purchaser or something big, some injection of capital where
Right, because
I could
that's
afford,
always the
I
end result.
can't,
You still
I
got to
can't
pay
do
for
it.
shit.
I
Yeah,
can't do it all.
yeah,
I have to make money and live, just like when
of
you're trying to
course.
do a band. It's just like
Yeah,
that. It's like, so I'm making a little bit of money, but I would be at the level of like a median type performer at this point. I'm
right.
definitely, Pink Floyd being like, you know, a product like USG or, I mean, those guys are in the stratosphere. I'm still way,
I thought you were talking about a color that you had.
No,
Thing.
the band.
Yeah, no,
So I'm actually, the product now funds itself. We're doing well. We're getting more people all the time that are loving the product and stuff, but I still
yeah,
need, I would need a large amount of retailers, more retailers, and more, I would need to generate more capital to be able to just travel around, you know. Like these
yeah.
larger
Because
companies, they can afford all these to go to trade shows and do,
of
I
course,
bootstrap, so it's more challenging, but I love
which
it.
is also probably why you have such a loyal kind of a grassroots following, right? Uh,
Yeah,
because of that bootstrapping, that getting out there, making sure that
yeah,
your network people, uh, which I think is important to the development of any company. But then you get to a point where it's like, yeah, that next level requires fucking money, like a
yeah.
significant amount.
Yeah, we're there, but and also don't get caught up in like what it's supposed to look like too. So I have a real departure from I gotta be at this certain level before I feel like I have worth. I've already impacted the industry. We're making money. I love doing what I do. I love interacting with the amount of people that I am. It doesn't have to look a certain way. To me, just, taking care of what I have to take care of is awesome. Watching it grow from here is just, icing on the cake. I'm already like blessed. I think, having gratitude and for the people that are already using the product and watching it grow from it, because it's not always going to work out. You do all these different things, and
Of course.
like very rarely does something work. Like the podcast ended up working, which was weird. I didn't think it would, but I try lots of different things to find ones that work. I'll send it out here, I'll send it out there. I'm going to partner with this guy. Oh, this person wants to send me a trowel, and not like poo-pooing any ideas. Maybe just trying everything.
Right. So there's a lot of just kind of getting out there and seeing what works.
That's all it is. And believing in what I'm doing. I'm still doing
I
jobs,
mean, that's
and
got to help. Yeah.
it's I have to pay rent, so I go do a job in 4 days. I can make $3,500. Like
Yeah.
in the back of my mind, I'm like, every fucking drywaller should be selling this shit. So
Yes.
there's passion. It's like I'm not full of shit when I'm telling you, like, like call Jamie needs to be fucking adding color and sealing all of those ceilings he's doing, because you're doing nothing but popcorn cover. You can double your profit margin. I'm not full of shit. It's like an actual product where, and you don't have to paint. You could do it in the
Well,
same
because
amount of
yeah, I was going
time.
to say you're not supplying, I think maybe some people do or they don't know, is that you're not actually giving them a paint ready finish. You're giving them a finish.
Yeah, that's one instance. That's one
Yeah.
scenario that would work. Another scenario is like you could offer hang finish and fresco harmony in
Yeah.
an entire new build. Like, duh, you
That
know,
would be interesting to see. Um, like, I don't know if you have you done a whole new build out of fresco?
several. I just posted pictures of a company. So the builder came to me. They were going to use a competing product. The client wants a plaster finish. He's like, we can't afford American clay. Do you have any options? I'm like, yeah, this stuff is pretty badass. Elite Drywall gave him a bid for $250 a square foot. All this high, hard, all bullnose, archways, returns, hard ceilings, vaulted, groin vault in the entryway. He hired his company that had never done fresco. They frescoed the entire space, and they're doing another one in Santa Fe. These guys didn't even call me to ask a question. They bought $2,000 worth of product, and they're running, like using using color joint compound.
Which it would be interesting to see once, like what if you get some like high profile or very talented, not necessarily high profile, but talented designers working through the colors to see what kind of vision they come up with.
Sure. Yeah,
that would be very interesting to see where that goes.
Designers, but like I'm working with Hesser Drywall, so he's doing full houses in Illinois right now. We've done several full houses here. We're working on this concept to create a system, hang finish Fresco Harmony, where you spray on the base coat, trowel on the second application, you have a spray on third coat. So not only is Fresco Harmony a money saving, but we got to work on time saving, because I got to compete with paint. So it's not just like a fancy accent wall product. This is like, dude, like you could bust whole houses in 9 days. You know, we had a company here do a whole house in 9 days, 5,000 square foot Parade of Homes feature house.
Interesting.
The whole thing looked like micro cement. Yeah, fine sand. You put fine sand.
I was going to say you could probably do it where people would want micro cement, but that stuff, like for micro cement, you need such a large fucking budget.
It would take you 4 months to do a 5,000 square foot house in I'm telling 9 days. That's as long as like it takes to texture a house and then wait for the goddamn painter to come in.
Yes.
And you're dealing with two trades. One trade.
Micro cement would take so long.
And I'm telling you, the Elite's charging $250 a square foot, which may not be the same up there, but it's like, you know, on top of his drywall bid, which is $1.30, they ain't charging shit down here. He's charging $250, and he's making 4 times as much profit on that square footage price with Fresco. The builder's getting plaster finish. Everybody wins. And I'm selling a whole house
at $250 foot. Well, $250 a foot American would be probably like $860 a foot Canadian right now, but
$2.50 a square foot.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, that was the joke.
Yeah.
Our dollar sucks.
But
it's interesting to see where that's going to go. Have you found what is the action like in Canada so far?
It's been great. No, we have CSR. I just talked with Dieter, with Comey. There's a lot of potential, not just in Canada and the United States, but also for the UK. So I tend to gravitate towards the interested places.
Of course.
So right now, Chad and Mike in Illinois are crushing it. They're just doing jobs and making money. We got Jay Delk out of Tennessee. We're in 48 states. I have 2 orders to fill today from different parts of the United States. Like, people are doing it. Like, so just because it doesn't make a lot of noise doesn't mean shit. You know, I have jobs for when I get back.
So do you still fill all your own orders, or do people have to go through retailers now?
No, I'll sell it direct online, and we sell it through CSR. So I'd rather sell it through CSR in Canada. That's going to make it easier for Canadians to get the product.
Right.
And I'll also sell through retailers here in the United States. But even the applicators here in Albuquerque, they'll go to L&W. So I sell at L&W, and they're selling a bunch. So
you're shipping direct to retailers then, for the most part.
It's about 50-50 retailers and online. People buy directly from the website.
Okay. And
but
so,
not in Canada. I don't sell. I only sell in the United States on my website.
yeah, which makes sense because then you run into a whole bunch of different sort of customs issues and whatever. You might as well let one distributor figure that
Totally.
out for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just good business.
And then we have one in England. So in Swindon, England, I've got Ben Cole with GWI. So he's selling them.
Okay. Were they,
Pretty
and they
cool.
already, they use a lot of plaster over there as it is.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of plaster. I just reposted somebody that did a Fresco Harmony project over there, and he's getting like criticism from like some plaster dude that's never tried it, which is fine. The tiniest
Naturally.
tapers, yeah, the plaster guys, they poo-poo the idea, or they don't even want to try it, or which is fine.
Which blows my mind that somebody wouldn't at least want to try something new. Before you take a dump all over a new product, at least try it.
Yeah, but like, so I mean, plasters like the prima donnas, like they're like super proud of these like shiny walls and the durability. Well, that's fine. They're beautiful and they're durable, but they're impossible to fucking patch. Like, so
Yep.
that makes it like wallpaper.
And inevitably they start cracking.
Yeah, they're going to crack I mean, there's a myriad of problems that happens with walls. So you want Fresco Harmony not only offers a price competitive finish and a beautiful finish, but like if you have to reskim a wall, it's no big deal, man. Just like
That's well, that's what I was gonna say is I think one of my favorite parts about it is because it's a replicatable process, you can patch it in if you need to. Or you can go right over the whole wall with an entirely new color.
yes.
That's been my favorite part about it so far.
Yeah, it's just easy to use. And Royce sort of picked up on it right away. He liked it. They've done a couple projects. Uh, yeah, I mean, people like Royce and in Canada are doing the product or they're asking me questions. And just like you said, like, I mean, I'll jump on and talk to somebody for an hour about it. The fun part is watching somebody new get the product, do a wall, and get like really excited about it. Those are the people that I get excited about because they're like, oh, like they get it right away. It's like, oh, I can do an accent wall and make $500. Duh.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, and spend $100 in material. That's a different model than drywall, and you're using the same tools and skills.
Yeah,
And you're
the
not
skill
saying
set's
you don't have to
100%
sand. You
transferable.
don't have to sand. You get a sanding dust all over everything.
Which, I mean, let's be honest, nobody likes.
People love to brag about how much they sand, and you see the dusty sanding pictures. But yeah, everybody hates sanding. At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, it's fun to brag about how much you sanded that day. It's horrible. Like, I don't
The
like it.
long term, there's nothing good about it because
No.
as good as your mask is, you still have drywall boogers.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
still blowing white out of your nose, which means you still got white going into your lungs
Yeah. Yeah.
at the
It's
end of the day.
I just was like, why does it have to be perfectly smooth? How come it's okay for a wall to be perfectly smooth and then another wall to have shitty texture all over it? And I get it, you guys don't have texture up there, but we
Yeah,
have texture down here. People are doing texture in new construction. I'm like,
there's a ton of
what?
it.
Why is that okay? Like
It's
that's okay, or it has to be perfectly smooth. Like, why can't I just make a wall kind of smooth? You don't see it looks smooth.
how often is somebody shining a light down the wall?
I mean, and still at the end of the day, I'd rather have Fresco Harmony than a painted textured wall. Even a smooth finish is kind of boring.
Because of the character.
Yeah, because of the
You get tired
character,
of looking at the same color.
or it looks like plaster. I mean, it has energy. It changes the energy. A lot of the
Mhm.
plasters they're doing nowadays are earth tones. They're these like earthen, soft, subtle textures that look exactly like Fresco Harmony. Like every plaster company offers a product that's muted and earthen looking that looks exactly like colored mud. And every time I see it, I'm like, well, that applicator could have saved a tenth. They could have paid a tenth of the cost for that same product and just used a bucket of joint compound and dumped a color pack in it.
Is there any product that it doesn't work with as far as like drywall compound goes?
No. No, it's essentially it's designed for all-purpose joint compound,
Yeah.
not quick set, not plaster. It's designed for ready mix joint compound. One unit. If that unit is 4.5 gallons, great. If it's 3.5 gallons, fine. You can use whatever product you're used to and you love, as long as you use the same base product every time and add one full color pack, you're going to have color consistency. That's your base medium. After that, you need to seal it. Well, we sell a sealer too. You seal it, and if you don't like it, you can go over it. You don't have to prep your wall with some sort of fancy bonder or primer. You just go right over it. It's no
Because an
problem.
all-purpose will stick.
It sticks to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use all-purpose right now when we're doing big walls just to laminate, and it sticks drywall to concrete just fine. So
I've gone over brick, cinder block, wood paneling, wallpaper a bunch. We've done projects over wallpaper. Some guy was just asking me about going over wallpaper. He posted a picture from Canada 2 days ago. He was like tested a wall. Client's blown away. Blown away. Oh, you don't have
now,
I don't
over top
I
of
don't
cinder block. You've gone over top of cinder block. Was there no issue? Was there no risk of any cracks following the
cinder
borderline?
block, painted cinder block. Yeah, none over cinder block. Forget about it. Like there are no cracks. And then if you are worried
Right.
about it, we've used the 3-foot fiberfuse sheets, and
Yeah.
you can reinforce a whole brick or cinder block wall with fiberfuse. But I've just gone over it with regular 90-minute quick set, a whole cinder block wall, and then go right into your Fresco Harmony 3-coat.
Well, folks, there you
I mean, I
There's,
can talk, it's like a
yeah, of course
broken
you can.
record.
Yeah, but it's not just your business, it's a passion. So I was genuinely just to kind of squeeze some of that out of you.
No, I appreciate it, man. I mean, we don't have to talk about Fresco. It does come up a lot on the podcast, but the whole inspiration for the podcast was like Whitby Drywall is getting ready to do a Fresco job, and you call me up. This is what we blab about. And I was like, this should be a podcast. Like, we're talking about drywall, we're talking about substrates, we're talking about textures, how to make you money. At the end of the day, there hasn't been a product created for drywall that actually makes the drywaller money. So check this new bazooka's got all these fancy bells and whistles. Ooh, a new skimming blade. Ooh, you made this extra. I'm serious. Like, you're never going to make more money than your square footage cost for drywall or your patch costs. All of a sudden, now you have another item in your treasure chest, this thing called the color pack, where you can create an accent wall with very little effort, and you can offer something to your client that's going to make you money. I make money selling the product. But like at the end of the day, like this is designed to help you make money.
It's pure gold. This man is blowing
Yeah.
up four cocks.
I mean, it does, and so intelligent drywallers have sort of figured it out. And also you have this resource, me, that's going to help you do that. I'm going to help you sell it. I'm going to talk to you about going over substrate, like whatever you need. Like I'm here to help you be successful.
But when you see all these people and they're out there and they're using it, and you see those ones that kind of just like make you take a step back, like it's going to be a proud moment, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
A feeling of pride inside, like you're wearing that, like, holy fuck.
And also we've had that are just like, oh my God, I'm looking for a way out. Like drywall is just drywall, dude. Day in, day out.
It's fucking drywall.
It's fun. Adding color and doing accent walls and hoods and fireplaces is fun. It's fast.
You're breaking up the monotony of it all.
We're bringing color to the monochromatic world of joint compound. You're using the same skills. You're just like taking them to another level. You know, it's like drywall mud on steroids. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, I can offer like a whole living room for you know, and make an extra $3,000 on this job. Like that's cool.
But that's definitely cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool as fuck.
That job that I just did in 4 days, I made $3,500, Steve. 5 color packs, 1 gallon of sealer. So a gallon of sealer is $100. 5 color packs is like $125. So I had 300 on the high end, $300 in materials, $3,500 job.
That's unreal because we're all in the same position, right? We don't do this because we couldn't find anything better to do. We all need money.
Yeah,
At the end of the
and
day,
it
it's
was the clients are blown away. She's sending me a deposit for 500 for the next phase. This is the same homeowner that did plaster on one wall, paid $3,000 for the plaster. Nightmare. They're like, I wish we would have found you before the plaster. Like that was such a nightmare. And so now she's sending me a $500 deposit. She's like, okay, our next budget is only 2,000. I'm like, great. I'll give you $100 off your next phase, man. And that phase is going to take 3 days, and I'm going to make $2,000. You know, I'm going to have 12 hours. 12 hours, dude. I mean, I'm fast at it, but I'm saying even if I was on that job for 24 hours, it's still good money. That's at $4 a square foot. So let me remind you, I did twice as much footage as the plaster for around the same amount of money. I asked her, I was like, how much did you pay for this wall and plaster? She said $3,000. That is a real life case scenario that like I just did last week.
I enjoy hearing the stories of people's, personal successes as well, because that's the kind of stuff that really drives my dick into the dirt, like it gets me excited to see other people kind of like killing it, right? It's fun.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say killing it. I mean, if I was like just building my Fresco Harmony business, it'd be way bigger by now. I've been distracted with the product, selling the product. Mm-hmm. So like, honestly, I don't make money selling the product, really. It makes enough to be able to sell the product, just like a band.
It becomes a self-sustaining unit sort of.
Yeah, if I was in a band and I made enough money to travel and fund my travels and be able to pay my rent, that would be really successful.
Yes.
But you're not making money. You're not making money. You're just like you're making enough to fund what you're doing.
Just to be able to pay your rent and your bills and fund your traveling as a band, you have to be at such a high level.
Right.
It's fucking crazy.
Right. Okay. So picture this, like my first year in business selling product, I made $500. Like I should have quit 11 years ago. I've been doing this 20 years. I've done over 1 million square feet of colored joint compound walls. So why the fuck wouldn't I try to what part of me would think that this doesn't work in any capacity? To me, it blows me away that this isn't a cornerstone of drywall, that people aren't just doing this on a regular basis. And granted, like they will, dude, it'll shift. Like color joint compound will be a thing. It just will. Whether USG comes in and copies Fresco Harmony and squashes me, or something happens, and we become really big, color joint compound will be a thing in the future. Mark my words, whether it's Fresco Harmony or something else. But for people to not do it and just poo-poo the idea is ridiculous.
So part of it, so for me, I work at it. I try to sell it.
Yes.
Very difficult to somebody that doesn't.
Yeah.
That they can't see beyond the lines of, this must be painted white.
Yeah, and I mean, white. A lot of the conversations that I have with applicators is around sales, but it's all energy. It's all attitude. Yeah. Fresco Harmony goes well anywhere you like beautiful walls. Like it's not an area. It's not
So
confined to an area.
no, yeah. So where I am located, I'm in a u unique position as far as like population goes. It's probably the only reason I still live where I live. In the greater Toronto area, I think once you outline all the different like townships that are in this kind of GTA, I saw something around like 9 or 10 million people. Um,
Yeah. Do you have
it's
home shows in your area, Steve?
Yeah, actually, so the Toronto Home Show just sent me 2 free tickets. I'm pretty excited to go to it this summer.
Free tickets, you should have a booth with 3 giant walls showcasing Fresco Harmony. Like, if you really want to do Fresco Harmony and if you really want to make money doing it, you go to the Toronto show, you pay $1,000, you will leave with 100 leads. You could just do Fresco if you wanted to, and you would double your profit margin with a fraction of the amount of work if you're really into it.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be challenging. Yeah, it would be easier because you're making more with less amount of energy. I don't do anything other than Fresco Harmony. Like
I've been kicking around the idea of
I
not.
don't I don't do drywall. I don't even do patches. I give them to Jack. Like I don't even care. Like I don't even want to do them. I only want to do Fresco. Like why not the margins are great. I can go in and bust it out. I don't
Well,
really
again,
want to
yeah,
do.
like you said, you've got to a point where you can do it so quickly now too.
Yeah, I've done so much. Just like
Yeah,
drywall. You get
yeah,
fast at it. I go in and prep a
works.
house, prep it, and I can throw on like 2 or 3 walls of base coat. Next day, finish base coat. Day 3, second coat. Done. Out of there.
When you say prep a house, what are you prepping? Like the floors and stuff?
Masking, dude. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, you gotta like most of the jobs that I do are existing homes. So I go in. These people had texture they hate, so they wanted their texture gone. Fresco Harmony's the answer. Like, or you get a drywall come.
Do you always go right over the texture or do you remove it?
No, right over it, man.
Right
Gone.
over it with the 90.
No, with a base coat of Fresco, all-purpose
No,
color, whatever color they
how does
want.
it? And so do you have to do 2 coats of base then? When you're going over
No.
popcorn, aren't you worried about it shrinking inside
Well,
it?
popcorn, yeah, but I'm not talking about popcorn. I'm talking about like a subtle texture. Look at these ugly ass walls. Look at that's like normal. I go over that with 2 coats of joint compound, gone.
Right.
This house. Like
Yeah,
a
so
lot of
the most common texture we have is popcorn.
yeah, so popcorn
Yeah.
you'd either scrape it or you would do a preliminary coat over the top of it if it has asbestos. But like even when you
Yeah.
scrape it, now you have this like the drywall's shitty underneath, base coat, Fresco Harmony, right over
Yeah.
that. And if it's discolored, you'd have to prime it.
Yeah, with like a sealer, like a
Yeah,
stain sealer
in
or
in
something.
that instance, yeah, you use like a primer and then you
Yeah,
go in
because you
your
wouldn't want it to come through your color code.
but you don't have to spend all that time floating out all those butts and bands and then to a level 5 sanding dust everywhere
Yeah.
and then
No,
like so
it's the one initial mess of removing and then you're on
yeah,
to yeah.
if you go over it like as fast as I am, I can go over it. I'm going to burn like 6 or 7 buckets of mud, but I can go over that popcorn with all purpose and I don't have to deal with any of the scraping.
Yeah.
You can smooth it out, kind of,
Which would
and
be the
then
way to go, especially if it's painted, because painted popcorn is such a bitch to
exact,
deal with.
exactly. So you can go over it with all purpose or quickset. Normally I'll use like bags of quickset to go over the top of it. And
It doesn't shrink. Yeah.
I call it encapsulating.
Mhm.
So you encapsulate that popcorn and then over that you do your 3 coat Fresco system.
Ah, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Is it?
Yeah. So a little different techniques to heavier substrates,
Yeah, of
depending.
course. I mean, there could be no other way. Yeah, it's an interesting, the whole concept surrounding it's very interesting. Again, it comes down to sales because what you're trying to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
is is really just kind of explain to people that you're not stuck with this.
Right.
There are options.
It's a paradigm shift, not only for homeowners, for builders, for drywallers, for designers. It's a paradigm shift. Designers don't know about it. Everybody thinks plaster, they think high-end hard. They don't think, oh, there's something affordable out there. So I'm challenging that paradigm of even in new drywall, you're only doing a level 3 finish, no sand, or a level 2, tape and one coat, and you're going into your base coat because you're doing 2 full coats of mud. It buries everything. You won't see a butt or a band.
Yes. And so you don't have to say you're doing a level 3 and then you're going to fresco on top of it. You don't have to prime it before the fresco goes on.
No, not on new drywall.
The wall.
Yeah, right. The sealer's your paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where you're getting that.
Yeah. In new drywall, it's the cat's meow because you don't have the sanding. You don't have all that extra finish work, especially for level 5. You don't have all that extra finish work. You don't have to paint. So you back that out of the cost. You're finishing to a level 3, no sand, Fresco Harmony. And that's a new way of finishing homes.
Right. And colorful, because I correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think I remember you telling me that you can do any color that's in the Benjamin Moore catalog.
I mean, most colors, you can do any color that a builder's going to want to put in a new construction home. I mean, they're going to do lighter colors, more safe colors. What color are they painting?
They're not doing a dark, they're not doing a deep red. Yeah.
They're painting houses in Navajo white. Like whatever.
That's such an oxymoron too. The Navajo white.
Yeah, exactly. There's or now it's
for the record,
like
that's me.
Simply white, or it's like
Chantilly lace.
Yeah, dove what there's like dove wing. We have our own I've matched a lot of the popular colors that people are using because the designer wants that color.
Mm-hmm. They want that color, but now you got to figure out. So when you're doing, for instance, when you're matching like a white, are you going into, does it become a two-tone system then?
Yeah, so the lighter the color, the less movement.
Right.
But what I've noticed is that your mud up in Canada has more movement with the sealer. The sealer creates it to be more modeled.
Mm-hmm.
It's different for different muds, but you're still going to get a tonality effect. Any fresco you use, but the lighter the color, the less tonality you get. But it still looks like a plaster finish. Not a big deal. So whites and they're moot because whites are so, with fresco, the color line is very safe because they're all earth tones. So
I would figure that the more colorful you get, it might actually be a little more easy, like an easier project, right? Once you're getting into those really like lighter tones, it might become a little more.
Well, yeah, the more volume you do, you're only choosing, like, maybe you're choosing an off color for the ceiling. You're doing like, Patterson Snow on the ceiling and Gallery Pearl on the walls. You're not doing 80 colors all over the house. You're doing 1 or 2 colors, 2 or 3, maybe you do an accent wall. But your palette is just that job that they just did. They did Merriman beige on the entire house, that one color.
One color, and that's cool.
Walls, ceilings. Those dudes bought 80 color packs.
Holy.
Yeah. That's a pallet
of one color pack per bucket.
Yeah, that's a pallet of mud they put on those walls.
I mean, if it's one color pack bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's almost two skids. There's 48 boxes on a skid here.
Well, so, we have 64, so
64. Okay. Everything's bigger in the US.
Well, actually, it's 3.5 gallon boxes, so they're smaller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
So the
wild.
colors, are based on, so you're going to have more material out of a color pack up in
Mhm.
Canada because you're 4.5 gallons,
Yeah.
but your color is going to be a little lighter than the color chart.
Okay. I see. So is
Yeah.
it, are you in the future, is there any ideas to figure out what those ratios are to keep them, or do you just release like a Canadian color list, or
No, you could no, it's
how do you
so close.
circumvent that?
It's so close that you just use the existing color chart. It works fine. And I tell everybody, always make a sample. You've got a builder that wants to see a color, call CSR, go down there and grab a color pack and make a damn sample. You wouldn't do a house based on a color chart. I don't tell anybody to do that. Always
Yeah.
make a sample. And samples are just something you keep around. I've got 3 in my living room. I keep them in my truck all the time. Samples sell. So you have a color chart, you have a sample. Here's what they look like. That you can pick any of these colors. We can do any of these colors. I'll tell people like you to go talk to your builder and just be like, dude, I'll do a free wall in the next house. Here's a color chart. They have color charts at CSR. Pick it out. Pick out a color. I'll make you a sample. We'll do a free wall. If you don't like it, paint it. Done. You do one
Yeah.
wall, dude, that dude will be sold. Guaranteed. He'll be like, I didn't know you did this, Steve. You do these specialty walls. What do you charge per square foot? You sell it.
Steve, how did you? Oh, me.
Yeah. Are you using a Venetian plaster? What are you doing? How are you getting this? And be like, yeah, it's an affordable new plaster system. That's all they need to know. And there's no color line for joint compound in the world except for Fresco Harmony.
Right.
I mean, are you kidding me? Like, that's crazy. But I'm gonna have to create all of these questions that Steve's asking me into a separate podcast that go on like the Fresco page because this has nothing to do with
I'm
Whitby
sorry.
Drywall. It's okay. I
I
like
just
it though.
get
I don't get to answer questions a lot about Fresco. You ask a lot of great questions, so it's a really good excerpt. But I probably we've got an hour of good stuff of just Whitby Drywall.
Yeah, for sure. I just, yeah, I turned it into like, no, I'm interviewing you, motherfucker.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's
No,
cool. I love answering questions.
I don't do it
You're
intentionally. I
you
just,
don't really use Fresco, but I mean, I'm like, why? Your dad's doing a little bit of it. You guys should be crushing it wherever you're at.
my right now, my biggest issue, I overall, is sales right now.
Yeah.
But that's not just for Fresco. It's everything, It's a difficult market up here right now, as
But
it
I'm
is.
saying this,
Um,
nobody else is doing Fresco, dude. If it's a difficult market or if it's shifted a little bit, you're primed for Fresco because it's not just new construction. All of a
yeah,
sudden, like somebody wants their texture gone or they want a specialty wall finish. You get $500, you can go and do an accent wall. That's not a patch. That's a
no,
market. That's a possibility that didn't exist for drywallers to go in and just do a specialty wall and make money.
yeah, I'm trying to push it a little bit now because, well, a large portion of my work right now, because there's not a lot of new builds to go into, is remodels. I'm trying to get
Well,
people to cover their old chimney. Trying to get people to
right,
let's do it. Just do it.
right. We can talk offline. I'm happy to talk about it. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
jump
for sure.
off, but yeah,
Yeah, I still gotta go to work too.
there's like all this possibility. That I mean, unless people really talk to me or like, I can't sell it. I'm having trouble selling it. It's like I did too. I think I did 3 bathrooms my first year, 20 years ago. Dude, I've been selling this for 20 years. Like,
Mhm.
I know how to do it now. I've done home shows. I'm going to be at the AWCI at the mud skip booth. Now I'm like talking with those dudes. Now they're making a mud skip, makes a product where I can do a base coat, let it dry for a little bit, and then do second coat. Let that dry a little bit. It's got the mud skip in it. Seal that shit. Now I don't even have to let the mud dry.
A 1 day turnaround on an accent wall.
Yeah. And they need like a color line because they don't have a color line. They're like, hey man, you already got a color line. I'm like, let's work together. Let's do this, man.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
For you.
We'll see.
But also good for everybody if they're looking for the change.
Yeah. I mean, it's good for like somebody that's tired of doing drywall that wants something new. Jay Delic, he's like, man, I'm getting older. I want to find something that I can make a little money with. I don't
know who Jay is, but I'm assuming he's a friend of yours.
He started doing Fresco. He was skeptical. He got a free color pack from CSR. He entered in a giveaway.
Okay.
He started doing it. He's like color pack sat around in his deal for a while, and then he finally used it, and he's like, this stuff is amazing. He's sold probably 10 jobs, and he came here and hung out with me for 3 days, and we made samples and played around, and he went back home. He has an order I have to fill today. Like, he's ordering it and doing jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's getting a couple under your belt. Like you said, you did 3 bathrooms in your first year, right? You got to get a couple under your belt so that people can see what you're doing.
Yes. Do a wall in your own home or in Royce's house. Royce and Josie.
Could you imagine them coming home and
ask Josie, just show her the color chart and be like, I want to do this, man. I want to do a free, wall in your home. I'll tell people.
It seems a lot funnier to while they're out.
Yeah, you want to make sure Josie picked the color because she might be upset if she didn't like the color. Thank you once again, Steve, for being with us on the Drywall Podcast. If you have questions about Fresco Harmony, you can reach out to me directly at info@frescoharmony.com, or you can check us out on our website, www.frescoharmony.com. We're also at csrbuildingsupplies.com, and also over the pond in England, GWI in Swindon, England. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Keep drywalling, keep kicking ass.